So hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the NYH podcast. As you can see, we are out on location. We are here today with Ben, and as you can see in the background, Ben's got a pretty bright wheelbarrow that actually matches my van that I go around with. But the reason why he has that wheelbarrow is he'll explain a little bit later. But we are in his workshop and it's a pretty cool space to do a recording. We've got a log burner over there that's about 4,500 degrees, so it's lovely and warm in here. And there is the humming and noise of bits of equipment around, but it's all part of it. You know, if you come to listen to the NYH podcast, it's never perfect. But that's why we do what we do, because we get out and we go and have these conversations in all sorts of locations, in all sorts of conditions. But Ben, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
So we actually met September last year, I think it was.
Yeah.
You sent me a message saying, I'm doing this run, it's not far from your house, do you want to come and watch? So I was like, all right, I'll come down and have a look. And then you were dead on the finishing line pretty much, weren't you?
Yeah, don't run a half marathon as hard as you can with a chest infection and on steroids and then try breathing at the finish line. It doesn't really work.
No, I think you came over the finish line, you lost one lung as you went over, and then when you were stood for pictures that everybody wanted to take a picture with you on the podium bit, you cough your other lung up.
Yeah, it was more the fact that when I crossed the line, I was like, how are you doing? I'm like, just give me a...
But we'll talk a little bit more about the barrow after, but I just thought we could start the podcast off with a little bit of background about yourself.
So, I'm a joiner carpenter. I've been in the trade now, it was 20 years this month, and I basically started off and started doing engineering and learning on the trades and like that, and I got fed up travelling, and it's just the sort of thing that I just got this feeling that it wasn't really for me. I like to be more creative. So, not qualified in joinery, anything like that. I decided to sort of have my midlife crisis at 21.
Start early.
Yeah, might as well get it over with. Everyone's going to have one eventually, so crack on. And so, right, okay, so I sort of thought that, quit my job, bit nervous, not a lot of money behind me, and sort of started learning the trades, sort of dabbling in the workshop, doing a few markets, selling a few things like bird tails, planters, which to be honest, until last year was still a fair chunk of the business, and it's always been a good earner. But also going on site, being with other trades, learning off them, sort of doing a bit of sort of labouring work for them in return for learning skills and things like that. And I just learnt the trade from there over the 20 years.
And now we're in your very own workshop. How long have you been here?
Yeah, I've been in this one for 10 years.
It's good. It is a very cool space.
Yeah, it's more a reflection of me with the saw blades on the door and stuff everywhere. It's an eclectic space, but it's a personal space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But have you ever done any site joinery, or has it always just been...
It's always been domestics. Yeah. So, because I've not got the certifications, stuff like that, because I'm self-taught or taught by others on that site, I've not been on major building sites and things like that. I've been on small site jobs, things like that, where I've been brought on to do specialist things. So, for example, there was an extension being on our property, and I was brought in to make some custom-made oak doors and frames, and then the builder's like, I know Ben, I'm not fitting him because he's going to be really finicky on this. Yeah. So in my case, he's like, yeah, no, let Ben fit him because he knows what he wants.
Yeah. It's sort of growing into that now, and you have a customer base. But you say you do like markets and things like that.
I used to, yeah. I actually turned down from doing the events and stopped doing them this after Christmas. Purely because it was a really good regular income into the business, and it always kept a really good cash flow coming in. But the thing as well is it used to take some of the weekends up. So for me, it was a really good model of being efficient, which is the engineering side. So there was never any waste because you brought everything back into the business, kept reusing it. You loaded off, got a cladding from a job, you turn it into like some different structures and that. You'd use it all up, so there's no waste. And then the waste after that would then heat the workshop. Yeah. So you'd have no waste. It's a really efficient space. So obviously not doing events now, I've had to rejig my efficiency bit because that's sort of thing that's always been a keynote of the business. It's about being sustainable in its usage of materials, fuel, so that the wood burning, heating, efficient lighting, things like that. So trying to be efficient as a space, but it's one of them things. It's giving me that extra family balance now.
Yeah. You're reevaluating your priorities. And moving them around and setting your work up to best suit your needs.
Yeah, well, I'd say after losing a friend in September to suicide, it sort of made me think, like, actually, what am I doing all this for? Life's short.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to bring on, well, the wheelbarrow that's in the background, and the reason why you contacted us, because you're now going around doing Ben's Wakey Races and the challenges. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so basically it started off as a random idea about 7 years ago. Just sat in a pub, as we all do, you end up with the weirdest conversations. So it was basically, I just wanted to be able to do a half marathon with a wheelbarrow, just randomly. And to emailed a couple of races, got no's, and it's like, it just got shelved.
Yeah.
And then I had a chance meeting with somebody, and it was a really nice lady, Kat, and so she supported me with things like that, and just helped me out with a bit of coaching and stuff like that. And they said, well, what are you doing next? And I thought, you know what, I fancy revisiting that idea, and possibly making something of it. So I emailed 11 races, one came back with a reply, and we were literally on our way back from holiday on a Friday, and literally my wife had nipped into the shop to get some food. I looked on my phone and got an email from Run Through Events, and I'm like, what's this? Opened it up. Yeah, of course you can do our race with a wheelbarrow. I'm thinking, that's 3 weeks. He's like, I haven't even got a wheelbarrow yet. So come back, full of chest infection, really, really, really rough, probably not in a fit state to go for much of a walk, never mind run a half marathon.
Yeah.
And spent the next day, next Monday, still off work, still not able to breathe properly, trying to blag a wheelbarrow. And developed from there, really. So we ended with Born Tools, which is part of ITS. They provided us with a barrow, the graphics guys I use. He sorted all the livery out for me. Running Bear have been amazing. They supported me with actual sort of like physical support, as in like how to train. The running community supported me as well. They've been really inclusive, as well as like Chapel Runners and Times Running Club who I run with as well. And then, they also helped sort out the running vests as well for me. So I've got obviously the printed vest that all matches in with the colour scheme, and kind of definitely makes you very visible.
This is it, and it's like we were chatting before, and you were saying that we did the Manchester Marathon was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, a week and a half ago. Yeah,
week and a half ago, and people were shouting at you and saying, but it's grabbing people's attention, and it's doing exactly what you need it to do, to try and help raise that profile about mental health and well-being.
Well, it technically may be a vehicle, but it's a vehicle to really open up the conversation, because it gets people asking why. But also people then ask you like, well, why has it got nothing in it? And you say to them like, it actually represents the invisible load that those with mental health and wellbeing troubles carry around on a daily basis. So it's a metaphor for its own cause. So it's that sort of bit where it actually makes people think, not just giving them a bit of information, makes them think about it as an open thing.
Yeah, that's it. It changes people's opinion, because a lot of people are scared to have conversations, but when you've got something that can be like that bridge for people to start a conversation, and then it leads you down these paths. And it started a conversation, and people are walking away from having a chat with you thinking, you know what, I didn't realise I could talk about that stuff. And it doesn't all have to be the perception that everybody has of mental health and well-being, and it changes their opinion, and it only leads to good things.
I mean, some of the people I chat to whilst I'm out running with it as well, they might not be in the construction industry themselves, but they've got family, friends who are in the industry, and they don't realise that the strains that they're going under. And it makes them realise, oh, I didn't realise it was like that. So they then might broach the conversation, how are you doing, to the brother or their friend at the pub that they see who's a builder or a joiner or something like that, and it makes them conversations work.
Exactly. People think, no, it's all crack and banter on site or in the workshop or in the van or anything like that, which it absolutely can be. But sometimes there's stuff going on in people's lives and nobody realises, and people think, I don't really want to say anything because people are going to try and judge me, try and fix me, and sometimes people just want to let go of that load that's carrying them, because it can totally and utterly consume you sometimes.
And then also on site, it can be also the loneliest place as well, because if you're on your own for a day, if you're in the workshop or you're on site and you do fix work on your own, so you also then with your own thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially as cool as this place is, I'm sure there's been times in your career where you've been in here thinking, I'm on my own, I've got all this rushing around my head, I've got to get all these deadlines done, and sometimes it can take you to places that you don't want to go.
Yeah, I mean, see, sometimes you look at a list, it's on the whiteboard, and it's one of the things I don't put the list on the whiteboard now, because literally as you walk through the door, back to the door to nip to get something or whatever like that, and you just see that list in front of you, it's a permanent reminder that the pressure's there. So I only generally I'll keep 2 or 3 job notes on there.
Yeah.
So rather than having a whole list of work, and I'll keep the list of work on my phone instead.
All right. That is a good top tip, like, because I'm very much a list maker, because like I feel, or I'm always worried that I'm going to forget something. So I'll write loads and loads of lists. Like when I used to run big sites, I used to have 3 notebooks on the go all the time, because I used to be that focused on trying to remember everything that it distracted me from life, and I used to live so far in the future, and I used to not live in the present, whether that be at home or whether it be at work. And I used to write the notes down so I could write it down on the piece of paper and forget about it and not have to worry about it, and then carry on with the task. But I never thought about it that way, that if you are looking at it constantly, it can build the panic in you.
It can have a very positive effect, but it also have a very negative effect, because as human beings, we naturally through time evolved originally with instant gratification. So things like hunting, gathering, you got food, you ate it, instant gratification. So to sometimes see a big long list in front of you is quite daunting, because there's more to do. So actually thinking, it's great to have that tick off list, but having it looking at you all the time can be quite overpowering.
It's like anything, like we spoke about before, it's learning to find that balance. And sometimes finding that balance can be quite hard. I know I'm very, very guilty of it, of just consuming myself with work and trying to make myself busy all the time to try and pacify that feeling that I feel like I am achieving something. Sometimes it can make other things in my life struggle and suffer. And I have been very guilty of it in the past. And I'm now getting to a point in my life where I'm starting to realise that, and I do balance it out a bit more, but I've had to make a lot of mistakes along the way to get to that point.
I've been there myself as well, so I mean, that's what took me to the point where literally, for me, when it came to the maximum point of overwhelm, the fact that what I perceived everybody around me expected of me, and that's what pushed me to the point where I nearly took my own life.
Really? Was it, on that journey to that point, did you realise you were being totally and utterly overconsumed?
No, I wasn't aware of it at all. So I'd basically been in the trade about 15 years and ended up with a hernia. So I actually pulled some timber off that rack there. Just pulled the 16-foot board off there, just pulled it funny, like, oh, bit of a twinge. Woke up next morning, ended up with a hernia looking like Alien vs Predator down there. When you wake up going, what is that? You're like, I got to call the mate, and I go, what's a hernia look like? I went, he said, why? So I told him, he's like, you got a hernia, mate. Call the doctor, he has to refer to this guy. So got referred, and this was mid-year, and I ended up holding off as long as possible, because not knowing if the insurance would pay out, things like that. And I held out until the December, literally the Monday before Christmas, to have the hernia up.
Oh, really?
So, and I had it done open as well, not just the thing on to have it done properly, because I'd made a right mess on it. I was maxing out on the painkillers, so I was running out of painkillers in a day.
Bloody hell.
Because, I mean, one day I was helping a mate on a roof, and I was popping the hernia back up while I was in the ladder.
Oh my God.
So it's a bit like, he's like, what are you doing? Like, just put me in. Like, oh, that's gross. I'm like, yeah, but I've got to carry on, mate.
Yeah.
So, but then came back to work after having 8 weeks off full time, 2 weeks on partial work. I did get paid off by insurance. But the issue was then it's all the pressure of coming back to work. Obviously, pressure from clients wanting, oh, you're back at work, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Well, I'm first. And you've got all them people spiraling around you. But then you've got the pressures of supporting your family. You've got, as well, because before that, I was regularly sort of in the top 5 in quite a few races as well. So I was doing quite well in 50-kilometre racing. And sort of like that. So all the pressures are coming back into sport. I didn't realise it was literally closing the world around me. It was like living in that storm. And what happens is you literally lose sight of everything outside. So as you get deeper into it, so everything, all the outside becomes less visible. And then I did Manchester Marathon 5 years ago, and basically I had the worst race of my life. I mean, I had friends telling me I shouldn't go because I was ill. I still pushed. I ended up doing a 4:56, I think it was. And to be honest, for me, that's, I mean, my previous time at Manchester was a 3:06. So for me, that was a massive failure. And I felt, obviously, judgment, stuff like that. Again, that spiraled out. Worked with work as well. So constant, everything kept pushing in and in and in. And to the point where I did another race about a month later, and on the way home, I was at the side of dual carriageway taking the fuses out the airbags.
Oh, really?
And then what happened was I just had a chance thought about my family, and that's what stopped it. But I rang my wife up and said, I need help. So ended up going for speaking to GP, ended up being put on a fast track for CBT, and sort of worked up from there. And that was 5 years ago. And in all honesty, last year my wife didn't know the final circumstances until last year, until I was talking to someone, because I think in my mind it was a bit of shame. I didn't want to tell her. So, and obviously then you sort of gloss over it and it just sits there hidden, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah. And sometimes you don't know what to do with that information, and sometimes then that can start the process again.
Yeah.
And start
you just develops that overwhelm. And
but no, well done for turning it around and coming out. I guess it wasn't easy to...
No, there's a lot of pressure, and I've always been one of these very driven people anyway, and pushing on that, but that's why with running with the Barrow and stuff like that, a lot of the challenge is all about raising awareness for mental health children. But Manchester, what I did a week ago, was purely for me, because it was actually, for me, it was 5 years on, actually I wanted to do a 3:45, which is halfway between a PB and then a Stuyvesant age group. Do that, shut the door on it, and pass that side of my life away. And it's not gone, but it's there, put on the shelf, and I can shut the door on it and move on in my life and work on it. But then, obviously, I ran a 3:31 marathon with it, and that wasn't just shutting the door, it was slamming it shut.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well done.
Thank you.
You can be very, very proud of yourself.
I was a bit buzzing.
So before you went down the original spiral, did you use running as like an escape?
I didn't realise when I was chatting with the during CBT, that I was actually sometimes using running as basically a socially acceptable form of self-harm at times, because I'd pushed myself so hard. I mean, I'd finish races vomiting and stuff like that. I would literally push until I literally break. So some people say, oh yeah, it's great, it's healthy competition, but when you're not a professional athlete and you're just a club runner, stuff like that, it can be unhealthy, and you feel that pressure of, I've got to hit this time, I've got to do that time, stuff like that, people expect of me. And I was using that then to push myself, and obviously I was actually quite enjoying the uncomfort. So it sort of, I had to lose that feeling with it as well.
Yeah, because that can feed into it. That, like when I first got here, we spoke about you push yourself hard and you enjoy your body recovering afterwards.
Yeah.
But sometimes you, like you just said there, you're pushing yourself too hard, and then that level of pushing yourself hard and your body repairing doesn't give you the same hit anymore.
No.
So you got to keep going and keep going and keep going, and then that's how you can spiral down. And I totally get where they're coming from with that saying of, like, it is an acceptable form of self-harm, because people think self-harming is cutting yourself with a knife or things like that. But there's so many different forms of it, and we don't realise that we're doing it.
It can be everything from binge eating to, what do you call it, to literally say, drinking alcohol. You say it's that sort of way that self-harm doesn't have to be a point of maliciously hurting yourself. It can be just causing yourself bodily harm over a period of time.
Yeah. I sometimes find myself wanting to push myself harder. Like when I used to do a lot of bike rides, I used to, especially up around here, you'd be doing some of the climbs, like go and do the brickworks, and although it's not massively steep, I'd be trying to push myself harder and harder and harder. I'd be physically screaming at myself as I'm riding up there. Just that. And you know what, Ben? It wasn't even for the time either. It wasn't even for the Strava stuff. It was for me. I was doing it to me because I felt like that's what I had to do to myself. And I can still do that sometimes. I'm nowhere near as fit as I used to be. But I can still find myself, whether it is going out on my bike or whether it is doing a bit of a run, because I've been doing like 3K circuits where I'll sprint for a minute and then I'll wait, then I'll drop the the intensity down. But then I catch myself doing, I can do another minute, I can do another minute, I can do, in the sprint section of it, and I'll be pushing myself harder and harder and harder.
But then you don't recover from that as well, because you don't allow yourself enough time to recover, so you push again and again and again.
Yeah, and that's when your time starts to slip. You don't enjoy your hobby or your sport, what you do, and again, it can be counterintuitive, and you think, well, I'm doing this to help with my thought process and my mental health and well-being, but it's actually making it worse.
Yeah, and it's like last year I was coached by a guy called Nick Bishop for my running, and one of Nick's comments that he uses quite a lot is be the best version of you. And it doesn't just do with sport, it does with life in general, but it also means, okay, to be the best version of me when I'm training, I've got to allow myself to recover, to rebuild, to become stronger again, rather than just keep pummeling my body all the time. And especially running with that thing. I mean, it's literally, we've worked out, we have a foreman for it, and we're about 23% harder to push that thing around than it is running without it. So it is putting your body through the mill.
You were saying before, you've had to learn how to do your stride and your push off points and everything like that, and I suppose because you're at an odd angle, you bent over as well. So it's
not actually.
Is it all right?
No, because we all do the geometry. So probably the only barrow that's come from the supplier and then gone on CAD. So it's like we moved the wheel forward 30mm. We've chopped 2.5 kilos steel out of it. We've removed plastic ribs from underneath with a router. We removed loads of steelwork from underneath to actually use the barrow tub as vibration suppression. I've actually moved the handles out by about 15mm each side, and then altered them to start with my shoulder level, because in the past I've dislocated the shoulder twice. So I know I'll sit with this one lower, so I've raised one side up to cope with that. So I actually sit open chested and good like that. And then we just done a couple of the minor tweaks, and now I can roll. So when I'm going into a hill, I can just roll my shoulders a bit, so it gives me that little bit of drive effort, which is partially with that. But it's one of them ones, it's a degradation of marginal gains. Just every little bit helps, because it's a bit sick in the head at times, really.
Well, there you go. It's taking it from a page out of David Brailsford's book, in it, where he did all that with Team Sky, didn't he? And the Olympic.
Yeah, even staking pillows.
Yeah, exactly. And this is it. People used to laugh at him when he first started doing that, and the pillows and the masseuses and the chefs and everything now, and the pedals, like you might lose not even half a gram, but it all adds up.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've seen the holes drilled in the frame, they're 1.8 gram per hole.
not that you've got an Excel sheet.
I calculated it out, yeah. And there's 39 of them.
Well, there you go, so saved up. But it adds up, there you go, it adds up, doesn't it?
And for road running, we've got a magnesium wheel going on it. I just got waiting on bearings, stuff like that, ready because I've got a 12-hour track race with it. So dropping 600 grams off the barrow for a 12-hour run is going to be seriously beneficial. But sounds weird, and everyone thinks I'm nuts for this one. The 12-hour track race isn't one of the challenge races; it's a training run. So I'm going to run for 12 hours as training.
Yeah.
But because the final challenge with the barrow is so hard, and it is abusive to your body. My body will start to consume itself. I won't be able to take off nutrients. I've got to practice the nutrition, so I need to be out for 12 hours. Even if I go, okay, I'll run for 6 hours and then walk for 6 hours with it. I've got to learn to go with it, even if it's flat, so now they're going up and down a hill. So it's the only way to practice that is a real world simulation. So yes, I'm going to run round and round in circles on a 400-metre running track for 12 hours.
Goodness me. Do you want to tell us about the challenges like you set?
Yeah, so obviously, we started off with a half marathon within 3 weeks and did a 154 with it, which I was quite pleased with that, quite a fairly reasonable time, considering the only run I'd done with the barrow before, 2 runs I'd done with the barrow. Once was 100 yards up and down the road to check it rolled all right, because we put it back together again, and then it did an 8-mile run, and then went and did a half marathon with it. So just literally it rolls, it works, it'll be fine, we'll figure it out. Yeah. Go run in a big group of people. Then found out that a friend of mine took his life, sort of set back a bit. I had things in plan, so I just sort of worked things through a bit for myself as well, because that hit me really hard, because I actually saw what I could have put my family through. So sort of rejigged and then I did an 8-hour race with it, and I think it was around 36 miles with it in 8 hours. So it was a good run. I enjoyed it. Loads of nice people with us as well. I mean, one guy, he actually knew what had happened, and he actually saw me sat on the bench having a little moment. So he's like, "Are you all right, Ben?" Stuff like that. So I mean, that's what the running community is like. It's really supportive anyway. And so we did that. Then January we did another half marathon. Got to a 1:38. So really,
that's a big jump.
It's a big jump, but we'd also now got the barrow down. I think it was down to from 14.8 kilo down to 12.4. So really moving the weight off it.
Yeah.
Then it was moving through the Pyrenees, and we had Wilmslow half marathon, and we dropped that down to a 1:35.20.
So another good jump.
We call it. 1:35.20, something like that. It was just over the 1:35 mark. I was really happy. I wanted to just improve my time a bit, but again, to bring that up. It might be quicker than I can't. So many numbers in my head at the moment. And then we did Manchester Marathon a couple of weeks later. Hit the 3:31, which was about 14 minutes quicker than I wanted. Massive milestone, big door shut. And then it moves on. So coming on, we've got the ever building. This is all the races I'm doing now is a training block for the final challenge.
Yeah.
So we're doing like Eamon, Buxton half marathons, which is like some of the hilly road half marathons in the country. Doing like Mount Killer Mile, which is a mile running up a hill, flat out.
Yeah.
A few other races in between, the 12-hour race, and then there's the final challenge, which is the main part of the challenge, which is what's called Everesting.
Yes.
So, and that is basically you pick a hill, any hill you want, and you can't leave.
Yeah. You basically loop it, don't you?
Yeah, so up and down the same hill, you can't leave, you can't go to sleep, you can only eat, drink, go to the toilet, that's it. You've got to keep going, and you run as many reps as it takes to do the height gain of Everest from sea level in one session.
Which is it 8,000 and
About
something?
8,900, yeah.
Nearly 9,000 metres.
Yeah.
Which is no mean defeat. And like you say, you physically can't get enough calories in yourself.
No. So, so what it will be is, worked out, it's 57 times up a just over 1 mile hill climb. So basically, power walk up, run down, but then obviously you've got to stop the barrel running away downhill.
Yeah.
And because I want to do it unsupported, where you can get supported, where you can get a lift down.
Yeah.
I think there's about 30 or 40 people in the UK that have done it on foot.
Yeah.
And I'll be probably the first person in the world to do it, pushing someone around.
Yeah, definitely pushing the weight.
So, the guys on the Everesting group have been amazing about it. They all think I'm nuts, but and so we're looking at 57 reps, about 117 miles, probably looking 36 to 40 hours. No sleep, can't sleep. You sleep, you're out.
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
No.
And 1 barrow and me.
And lots of treats and Haribos and sweets and jazz.
I've not got a crew. I've just basically said to anyone who wants to come along, you're more welcome. Come along, bring food, what I call it, bring a bit of music, bring coffee. Just even if you can't, just come and cheer on. Like see me off at the bottom, drive up to the top, give me a good shout part way up, whatever. Or if you want to run a few reps, do a few reps because they're not. 30 hours in. It's going to basically be a dawdle. It's going to be survival. And there's not really many pleasantries. Going, how are you feeling?
You'll have to channel your inner David Goggins, but when are you doing it?
27th of July.
And whereabouts are you going to do it?
It's called Peaslow Hill, so it's just outside between Chapel and Fifth and Sparrow Pit. So it's a small narrow road, so don't want a load of cars passing up and down, but it's because I'm not closing the road in respect for the locals. So basically it's going to be running up and down the same narrow country lane. Sun goes down, light jam will feel very, very long, and then sun will come up, and then the next day is going to feel very, very long. And if it goes wrong, I'm just going to keep going, and just even if I have to walk it and all that, as long as I don't go to sleep. Yeah. So I'm definitely having the day off the day after.
Yeah, I think you can have it off. You come in here and have a kip on the workbench.
I don't think I'm even going to come here. We did Backyard Ultra. My wife's got a picture of me literally lay on the floor across the living room, no pillow behind me, just me hood up on my hoodie, lay across the living room floor, fast asleep, trying on recovery. She took a picture of me and said, "Ben's tired."
But no, it's amazing. Then I'll put all the links to Ben's social media and stuff in the description below, so you can keep up to date with all that and support him. And I'll put all the links for the Just Giving stuff that he has in there as well, and you can support him along the way. And let us know in the comments if you want to come along and see him if you live around this area. I'm sure he won't mind a visit of you on the day. He'll need the support, definitely.
Yeah, I'm really big into Snickers.
There you go. Make sure you bring Snickers.
But we raised about £2,600 so far for the Lighthouse. So, but the biggest thing is the awareness.
Mm. Do you feel, when you finished the Manchester Marathon, was there like a sense of letting go of that period of your life?
Yeah, for me, it was, to be honest, it wasn't just, when I got to, because about 20 miles I pulled my shoulder, but I knew I had plenty of cushion to do, so obviously I just kept it mobile like that. And it got to about a mile from the end, and you just start feeling yourself sort of welling a bit, and the crowds were just like screaming at you, like, come on, Barrow man, stuff like that. And yeah, I've had £1 for every person that was along the route said, can I have a lift? You're like thinking, be polite, I've heard that a lot. The thing is, when you're really tired and you're hurting, it's quite a hard thing to. You just have to like innerly just go. And but when I crossed the line, I mean, I was literally, one guy saw me thinking, and I had a proper moment at the finish line, and this guy's like, he commented on it. I said, okay, I was with you at the end. I had a bit of a moment, sort of thing, and but it was a big closure for me, but it didn't really sink in for me until the drive home. So, because at the time it was just like, I've done it, I finished it, I was passing and then sort of I walked gradually back to the van because my legs were literally screaming at me. And once the lactic acid started to really pool, and it was one of those ones where eventually on the drive back it started to sit in, and they're like, yeah, no, I properly just I shut that door real hard on that one, and it's time to really sort of mush on a bit more for what I want to do.
Amazing to hear. And it's moments like that certainly give you the fuel to keep going. Yeah,
and it's good for my work as well within the industry and things like that as well, because at times, even say, it's allowed me to assess my toolkit that I use. So I have my toolkit I use, I check it myself, things like that, and it's allowed me to work on adapting my toolkit, which helps me at work and in life and things like that. So it means the fact that I can go, okay, I'm feeling that sense of overwhelm, like the week before Manchester, with all the pressures I put on myself. It wasn't external social pressure, it was pressures I put on myself. So I decided, okay, I put on the group to reduce one item coming in on it. I said, I'm going to take a few days away from the social side on this, rather than pushing the actual side of that, and actually had a bit of time just think, okay, I can concentrate on myself and stuff like that and bring it back in. And then I thought, okay, the Friday I could have a bit of time, so I just did a couple of small jobs and had the Friday just getting odds and ends done, and just did an errands day just to help pull it all back in. But rather than sitting dwelling on things, I was keeping busy but not heavily busy. It was just
just try and get a bit of normality throughout the day.
That's it. And also it was that bit of tick list again. I could actually go, okay, I've done that. It feels good. You ticked a few bits off, but you as well.
Yeah, definitely. And if there is anybody listening to this and they feel like they're in that space that you were when you pulled over on that dual carriageway and took those fuses out of the airbags, is there anything that you could suggest to them or make them think about that maybe might change their mind?
At the time, for me, it was the thing is, with moments like that, you don't think rationally. I mean, you don't think about the external world. It's a very sort of self-thought space. So really, it's trying to think about the world around you instead. I would say that probably would be my thing, because it's like being in a storm. You can't see the external world around you. The clouds obviously get tighter. You don't see. You're more into the centre. It's almost like being in that sort of the eye of the storm. So really, it's just trying to see what else is around you, sort of thing like that, and what's good in life. And that little bit can hopefully just help you out a bit, because that's just seeing my family, thinking of my family, is what was good in my life, and then thinking actually, and that's what for me pulled me from that moment.
Well done, Ben. Thank you. Amazing. Thank you for all your hard work.
Yep.
Thank you for all the tireless hours that you put in training and all the maths that you've done for that and everything else that you're doing for the community, not only the running community but also the construction community, and you're helping and supporting them. And it's the work that goes into these sort of challenges that you yourself and others do, and people don't realise, because the hours sat up on CAD working all the stuff out and things
this
like
morning, wake up at 5:30, get the body moving, out at 6, get an 8 mile run in, get home, get showered, breakfast down your throat, get out the door, get up here.
Exactly. Yeah, because I think I texted you quite early this morning, because I was up at 5 this morning. And I messaged it must have been about 5:30, 5:45, something like that. And you messaged me back, saying, he's an early riser then. And then, you actually messaged me, I'm just out on a run.
Yeah, I'd literally just stopped for a second just to literally just set up a separate timing section for checking the timing on a segment, because I was going out without the barrow. So I wanted to then do a couple of faster intervals to work out on that. And I saw that, I thought, you never switch off, that's the problem.
Well, yeah, this is it. We can be very guilty of that. What I'm trying to do now is I'll get in from work and I'll put my phone on the side next to my keys and I'll leave it for a little bit. And I've switched all my notifications off as well. The only things that come through, text messages and WhatsApp, email gets switched off, social media stuff gets switched off, and I try and take that downtime because it can consume you.
Yeah, something I'm still working on myself, really. It's just like that, especially with doing this with charity and stuff like that as well. I feel that little bit of pressure that I've got to keep an eye on things and develop things. So it's trying to keep an eye on that pressure. So obviously before Manchester, when I felt that sign over, I sort of I took a step back for a few days and just used the post I already had planned to do that, sort of let them just drop in.
Yeah.
Because, as I say, social media again, like that, it gives a false sense of perfection in the world, because everyone posts on, look at me, I'm doing this and that, when actually they might not be all like that all the time, but you see that and feel, actually, I'm not living up to that.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And it's very easy to look at other people's lives and think, well, that's what it should be like for me, but we're all on our own path and we're all on our own journey, and we have to remember that sometimes. Yeah. But that's a good place to end it, I think, there. Yeah. But Ben, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for hosting me in your really cool workshop.
Thank you.
And thank you for all the effort that you're putting in and the money that you're raising. But if anybody has any questions for Ben, let us know. You can either follow him on his social media, or you can drop us something in the comment in the comments, or drop us a message on social media. And I do check them, I just don't have the notifications on anymore. But thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know if you want us to have anybody on over the coming episodes, and if you want us to talk about anything as well. But other than that, make sure you look after yourselves, get out running with a wheelbarrow, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Thank you.
Good guys.
Well done, mate. That was perfect. That was great. Look at that. 39, well, just shy of 40 minutes. Absolutely perfect.